Everyone who starts a podcast or has an idea for a podcast but actually doesn't follow through with it is usually completely incapacitated by the gear and the workflow and all that. And right now in this video, I'm going to walk you through a very simple solo podcast workflow so you could actually get on with it instead of thinking about it and avoiding it. We'll focus on episode ideation, then we'll focus on actually what you need and how you will record, and then what to do afterwards. And we'll keep it as concise as possible. Let's get started. The very first thing that people get wrong all the time is thinking about what to do with the recording. Everything about your podcast success and each episode's success is always going to revolve around the preparation, and specifically its episode ideation and thinking about what you're going to talk about well in advance. When you skip this part, I promise you're going to be in this place where you're just like completely discouraged. You're like, F this. I'm not re-recording that, or this is not worth my time. Why did that take 3 hours? Let's get you past that so that way most of the time goes into preparation and the recording could be like that. This is going to sound super basic, and it is. We need to be brilliant in the basics. So your episode ideas should be in a Google Sheet or even on your notes app on your phone. I always have a constant list of content ideas that are going through my head. Some of them are short form, some of them are long form, but all these ideas need to circulate around your core message, okay? So before you even start, I have to rewind now. You need to think about the North Star of the podcast. Another way to think of the North Star of the podcast is its core focus and the promise that this podcast gives to the people or the expected audience. If you do this, each audience is going to revolve around the North Star and have its own North Star, and you'll always keep it focused, because the worst thing you could do is go into a podcast episode and be all over the place. It's going to create a bad watching or listening experience. So we're going to start with your North Star. Now, if you've had a podcast concept, this should be something very easily flushed out. I've had a video on it in the past. I will talk about it in 2 seconds. Who is it for? What is it about? Why are you doing it? When will it be published? And where will it be published? Period, point blank, full stop. You should be able to answer that like that. So that is going to be your North Star. Now let's just get into the ideas themselves. The ideas of each episode should fall under that original North Star. If we're gonna, for simplicity, let's just talk about weight management, okay? What are 3 pillars of weight management I think we could all agree on? We could talk about calories, cardiovascular exercise, weightlifting or strength training, and if we wanted to add an extra wrinkle in there, we could do something about maybe sleep or supplements. Everything should fall under one of those pillars. So if you decide to use a Google Sheet or something like that, you have episodes, all these episode ideas, doesn't matter how good or bad they are, as long as you start storing them, and then just have a pillar for each one of them, and then you're on your way. You know your North Star for that episode, and you can move on. Okay, so you got your ideas. Let's talk about scripting, and I'm gonna keep it simple because that's what I promised. Here's your format for scripting your episodes. You have your North Star. We already talked about that, the central idea of the podcast, and then you're gonna talk about maybe, let's just call it 3 segments or 3 things that you wanna cover. You're gonna have a bullet point for each segment, and under each segment, you're going to have 3 subpoints. That's it. Now, if you really want to go all out and script, you can. And if you have a teleprompter like we do, you could use a teleprompter. But this is for the podcaster that does not want to be sitting at a desk or attached to anything. They want to kind of be out and about like I am right now, this second, and comfortable. Okay, that's why I'm wearing a lav mic wherever. I can't even see it on my jacket right now, but it's there. So like that's what I'm going to recommend for you anyway. But we're keeping it simple. You already know this information. Unless you're presenting something new or presenting something you're acting like you know about but don't actually know about, you're not gonna have to rely on it. Now, here's where people get into really big freaking trouble. They decide to kind of deviate and they just start talking about anything they want, and they don't realize that they're not actually adding value. Words are just kind of mounting up, but nothing's actually happening. There's very few people, and I've worked with some of them, Daniel Priestley, Chris Doe, who I can show up with them and they have no script. I have an idea of a podcast or a short form video that I want to record, and I could say 3, 2, and they just go. That comes from years and years of experience of knowing their message, refining their message, incorporating new knowledge into that message. Very, very few people could do that. You and I are not those people, okay? We're trying to keep it simple. So there you go. You got your ideation and you got your script. Let's move on. So one quick note, if you do have an outline or something to help guide you, you wanna make sure that you look at it. And when you come back here, don't immediately start talking. It's gonna be an easier cut, okay? So I'm looking at it, and let's just say I'm gonna be talking about 5K training, okay? If you're gonna start a 5K training plan, blah, 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 okay? So just make sure you give yourself that pause. That's just an insider tip. Let's move on to the next subject. All right, let's talk gear. You have one of these, use this, okay? Now, we could either do B-roll for this or John can maybe focus in on it. We're just gonna go 4K, 30 frames per second. That's it. If you're not well lit, you're just gonna adjust the exposure and it'll be brighter or darker, but that's all you really need to do, okay? That's it. Now let's talk about 4K. Why 4K, okay? You know, if you don't know, these are gonna be massive files, whether you do it on another camera or a phone. So let me just stand up and John can stay right there. For 4K, like, I don't know where you could see to, but like, he's doing horizontal right now, okay? So if I wanna record a YouTube video or a podcast, like I'm gonna have all this area, it's gonna be horizontal. But if I wanna cut vertical video, he needs to be able to punch in, and you can kind of simulate John and come a little bit closer or whatever you think it is. But if he wants to come in for short form from this long form, like you gotta zoom in to fill up the vertical. What happens there is if you're not in 4K and you're in 1080, which is just HD, it's gonna be pixelated and noisy. If you're in 4K, it's gonna allow you to punch in from that wide shot into a vertical shot because you need to zoom in and you're not gonna lose any quality. That's why you see some people with podcast clips online that are just like, whoa, like that's fuzzy, and then some who are super crisp. They didn't necessarily record vertically, they may have recorded horizontally and punched in. So, we've covered the iPhone. I do want to give you a budget-friendly camera that we use, and we'll go over here in a second. It's called a Sony ZV-E10. We used to use it religiously. We've upgraded, but it's still a absolutely fantastic camera. I'm pretty sure you can get it for under $700. John and I are going to walk over to it right now. So I know we got a lot going on here, but this is the Sony ZV-E10. This is not the lens that it comes with. It comes with a kit lens, which will bring you down to what's called a 3.5 f-stop. The way I think of an f-stop is basically the amount of light it allows into the camera. 3.5 is decent, but you'll definitely need some supporting lighting. A lens like this goes all the way down to a 1.4 f-stop, and it's gonna look absolutely fantastic. My recommendation when it comes to one of these things, we're not gonna go over settings right now, but I would say definitely get a dummy battery. We live off these religiously. John and I have never had issues. We could link it below if we need to, but we've never had issues, and we've done hour-long filmings more than that here. Okay, but this camera is extremely budget-friendly. Now imagine you are sitting over there, and here, John, you can just go. So let's say I'm sitting to film, okay? I can't necessarily see that super well, the screen. And if you're using autofocus, you never know when it could go out of focus, and you might have done something messed up the entire time. So if you're gonna invest in one of these, I would also invest in what John calls a confidence monitor. I guess that's jargon for that. I used to just call it an extra screen. But anyway, it plugs directly into the camera. It's right there, okay? And I would obviously have that facing me. John has it facing for the camera, but you can see. And it's gonna be a lot more visible. All you need for that, and that monitor is $99, and all we had was a micro HDMI to HDMI cable. That way you could always see if you're in frame. If you have your grid on for vertical video to make sure you're like in there, then you're good. But that is always going to help you, and a lot of people, of course, like to see exactly what they look like when they're filming. And there you go. So that's a Sony ZV-E10. It's under $700. But again, if you have an iPhone, you got an iPhone. Let's talk audio really quickly. I am super bullish. If you're a solo podcaster, this is the freaking move right here. This is a Hollyland what is it? The M2S, and John and I have been using them. We're using it right now, as a matter of fact. I wanted to keep it simple. That's why I don't have a standard podcast mic in front of me, but this thing can plug directly into your phone, okay? We talked about this already, using your phone as your main camera, so I could plug this in. I hope I didn't mess up the audio just now. I might have. Well, either way, okay, so this plugs right into your phone, and then this right here, you can't even see it on my jacket. That's the mic. And it sounds freaking great. Like, we've been using it like religiously. This is very low profile, very easy, and there's redundancy. So this is what I would recommend. Guess how much this is? It's about $100. I think if it's over, it's not by more than $10 or $15 over what that is. So that's going to be the audio. You could connect it to either the ZVE10 or you could connect it to your phone. So that is it for audio. We're keeping it like that. Let's move on to the environment, and I'll actually have John take this thing off the tripod and we'll talk a little bit about what we got going on here. So now we're moving on to lighting. There is a couple pieces of lighting I would invest in if you don't have natural light. Natural light is my favorite, but it comes and goes and you just never know the environment you're gonna be in. So I have right here a key light. That is the only light that's on right now. The lens we have, I don't even have it at its full brightness. I think it's just at 15%. I could go really hot, which will probably bother John, but here's what it is. Now, a key light is gonna be 45 degrees from my face, okay? Or you could have it kind of past my face to give it a little bit more shadowing and a cinematic look. Now, the good thing about a key light is you got the front lit, but the back, what if you wanna kind of show off your back a little bit, or maybe you wanna subdue the back but have something that's gonna separate you from your background? We're gonna turn on a hair light, okay? And this hair light is right there. I could tilt that to me, but yeah, so like the goal of that is just to give separation, like my actual figure from the background, whatever the background may be. So I'm front lit and I'm backlit. You do not need a hair light, and I would actually recommend natural light as long as you're aware of the consequences. Now, John, I'm gonna turn some of these other lights on, and I'm gonna have John show you this lantern. You're probably blown out, but this is a key light. Now, real quick, John, if you come around, sorry. So on this, we have a grid, okay? And this is a dome, okay? And this is a grid for that dome. It really focuses the light, right? Just think of like a funnel, okay? Like it just kind of like is really making sure it's dialed in a specific place. Here is a lantern. We have this for additional lighting, but if we tilted this down and turned everything else off, I would be very well lit across everything, but then everything around me would be lit as well. We call that spill. And I'm not even like a freaking expert with that stuff, but I'm just saying that's gonna be a little bit more focused on the person. This is gonna be focused on the environment. This gives you, a lot of people love using these. We try and be a little bit more cinematic, so we use those. Those are gonna be a little bit more expensive, but I think the newer brand, NEEWER, they have really good affordable ones. If you're gonna make a light investment, that's what I recommend. The only other thing I would say is, John and I got these monopods, which I love. I don't remember the brand of them. If I remember, I'll put it in the, is it on here? iFootage is the brand. But what we did was, we actually just put the light on top of there, and then we got this little, it's called a super clamp, and we just put the camera on top of it. Don't be intimidated by this. This is just like to keep things simple, okay? Like keep it all in one kind of place. Like literally if I moved this right in front of that desk over there, then it would be perfect. And that's exactly what you could do. And if you don't want a monopod and you want something on wheels, you could get something like that. But neither of these, this is not gonna run you out of the bank. I think you can get this for 70 bucks or less. Again, we're trying to keep it simple, but you will need something to light yourself with. Now let's talk about the environment while I'm at it. So right now, this thing right here, this nasty thing in this building, this vent, the AC comes on, the heat comes on, and this building is like 100 years old or more. So sometimes it could be noisy. So if we know we're gonna be filming, sometimes we'll crank the AC and then kill it. So it's nice and cool in here and we don't have the distraction of the sound. If you're at home, do you have anyone coming by to mow the lawn today? Does your air conditioner make noise? Is your puppy gonna be scratching at your door? You wanna just be aware of all the external things that could contribute to being a distraction or that could affect the sound in any way, shape, or form. Now we have various backgrounds here. Let's talk about the rest of the environment. If you have carpet, the more furniture and things that you have around, it's going to kind of deaden the sound. I am not going to sit here and tell you, go get all these sound panels and hang things from the wall or hang things from the ceiling. Like, no, a lot of sound is very easily fixable. We actually made a reel about it. Just use Adobe Podcast and your sound will sound amazing. But we have different backgrounds, okay? We're a studio. Of course, we're gonna have different backgrounds, but we have different backgrounds. And you just gotta be aware of what you're wearing. Does it clash with it or not? And you see what I'm wearing here, it's on purpose. It's monochrome, monotone, I don't know, but it's all blue basically. I don't wanna have too many designs or anything like that. Now you can spice up the background as much as you want, but sometimes it's a distraction. Then people are gonna be looking around and not looking at you and not listening to you and just kind of trying to figure out what you got going on. If you do that and you're not a good podcast host, you probably lost a viewer and a listener. Well, a viewer, of course, because we're talking about what the background looks like, but there's that. Now, if I'm gonna have a chair, I just want a chair that I could kind of chill in and just freaking be, okay? One of the big things we're pushing for this year is just like to really make the argument that podcasting is not something that AI could kind of do for you. You could get a clone, I guess, if you want, and put that out on YouTube, but if I want to connect with my audience, I want to be in the chillest spot ever. And although I work at my desk a lot of the time, I'm not trying to record a podcast at my desk. So find a corner, find the environment, know the external factors, and sit somewhere where you could be comfortable and you can just be. Okay, this mic gives you the flexibility to do that. You don't need a boom arm, you don't have a mic stand, you don't need to worry about any of that because we are intentionally keeping this simple. Okay, so a podcast does still need a hook. Just because it's not short form doesn't mean it's not a hook. So you're gonna have to obviously start with something that's engaging. You're either gonna talk about a myth that you're gonna expose, you're gonna talk about a truth that a lot of people don't know about. You're gonna talk about something that obviously is just gonna capture people's attention. I'm not here to get you into strategy on that, but after your hook, you should have a bumper. A bumper is different than an intro. I had a client recently who had a 1.5 minute long intro to every episode. I'm like, there's no way people are listening, and her stats proved me right. Like it wasn't even her on the intro. It was like this voiceover artist dude. He sounded like a game show host, and I'm like, no. So your intro is more like, I think, a trailer nowadays, and the trailer is gonna be your very first episode. But anything after that, I suggest having a static bumper. A bumper is a very condensed version of the hook, and it either has your slogan or a phrase or something like that. My friend Mike and I had an example of one of these, and it's for a podcast that we have at some point we'll release. It's called I'll Quit Tomorrow. At the intro, after we did our hook, all we would say is, welcome back to I'll Quit Tomorrow, where we're trying to help one person quit today. Okay, now that could be in a short video with a little bit of B-roll, or it could just be one of us saying it, but 10 to 15 seconds max is this intro. If I were doing the weight loss case that I said, it's
welcome to Cardio with Cardona, where we're going to talk about running, cycling, and swimming and how those all could add years to your life.
That's it. Like, let's just get into it. And here's why. The time to value for your listener needs to be fast. Okay, like we need to get there. So whatever you think in terms of like a buildup that they need in order to get a takeaway or a point, you don't. You need to get to value right away. So you want to waste as little time as possible without a long freaking trailer length intro. Get right to the subject matter, which brings me to my next point. You are going to tell them exactly what they're about to get. I gave you a hook, you got the bumper.
In today's episode, we are going to talk about the butterfly stroke because it's so unique. Not only is it a cardiovascular exercise, but it also has resistance involved with it for your pectoral muscles and your back, which could have you shredded by the end of summer. I'm going to tell you exactly how to do this stroke, how many calories it burns, and how long your workout should be.
I just made that up, of course, but I'm literally telling you exactly why you need to stay around, what your takeaway at the end of this episode should be. So that's what we're going with. Time to value. Now, you already told them what they're gonna get. Now it's time to get into what they're supposed to get, and you go from there. Now, the good news about recording is you're not live streaming, so if you screw up, just pick up where you left off. There's no need to get up and stop and press record and start all over again. So my name is Richard Cardona. Let's just say I absolutely screw that up and say, my name is Dick Cardona, because I don't ever say that. I'd stop and I'd pick up where I left off. My name is Rich Cardona. Okay, that is the absolutely simplest example. I'm not trying to insult anyone's intelligence. I just don't want you to think about having to re-record just because you messed up. If you feel like you need to do a whole segment over, just pick up where you left off. You could reference your bullets, and the most you'll have to do is maybe like a minute backtracking or something like that. Now, a lot of people like to put calls to action in their podcast, and rightfully so. Follow me on Instagram. Check out the full video on YouTube if you prefer to watch. You know, any of these calls to actions are good, but if you're going to do a video podcast, I absolutely recommend you, when you address the audience, you could say things like, whether you're watching or listening, I really appreciate you. Make sure you send me a DM on Instagram. I try and get back to everyone as much as I can. You're going to slip stuff like that into the episode, and it doesn't necessarily need to be strategic. If you have something like a product that you're selling, if I'm selling studio time or our production services, I'm probably going to put that in the first third of the video because that's when people are listening the most. That's when I have like a pretty healthy, data that's showing people are listening to at least half the episode. I'll tuck that in the first half of the episode, probably around a third of the way through. Anything else, if I'm asking you to follow me, if I'm asking you to comment, if I'm asking you to rate and review this stuff, I'm just gonna kind of slip it in during conversation. So if I'm talking about strength training, we'll just pick up as if I were.
So I switched from, chest and back day, or chest and tries and back and buys, and then leg day on Wednesday. I switched that. I actually now do total body workouts 5 days a week, and I feel so much better about it. And if you're one of those people who's thinking about that or has done it and had success with it, I definitely want you to tag me on a post or leave a comment, because I definitely want to get to know you, and I want to see, like, what's the temperature of my audience out there? Do they like the traditional way, or do they like total body like me?
Okay, so that's just like an example. I'm kind of casually slipping it in. It's organic and sincere, and I'm not trying to do anything crazy. I'm not trying to hold up the podcast to give you a very specific need. I'm just telling you something that you can do, and if you do it during the podcast, even better. So let's talk file management. If you ended up recording to an SD card, which is going to be on an actual camera, not your phone, you're going to have somewhere where you're going to want to store this stuff. And John might be able to punch in. If not, then I could do a screen recording. But I just have episode folders, and I keep it like this. This is an example of a client we have. So we have the raw versions, okay? Any short form clips that we've made will go in the short form folder, SF. The mid form, if we're gonna have medium form, so let's say it's a 40-minute podcast and there's like a banger 5 to 7 minute segment, I'll put it in here. Here's my audio with the bumper, and then audio without the bumper in case we're gonna change up the music, or I'm sorry, I might have done an intro in it. I also have the transcript, I have the raw audio, and I have the video. That's it, okay? Now, the reason I wanted to even show you or talk about any of this is because if you did 4K, they're gonna be pretty big files, okay? And it's just gonna be a pain in the butt. But just know that's kind of how I organize it. But before we can do that, we need to edit it, right? So there's an app that I would suggest, and again, not insulting anyone's intelligence, but CapCut on my phone is really freaking good. I mean, like, it's really good. Like, John will send me some stuff that we've recorded. I'll throw it in CapCut, and I might make a couple little difference. I might do a couple things differently. So this is a desktop app, but this is the same way it would work on your phone. And literally, if you could edit this on your phone, like, why not? I mean, like, you could be editing anywhere. Like, you could be on the toilet freaking editing this thing. Some of the stuff that like John and I use or other people, like, you can't do DaVinci Resolve on your phone. You can't do Adobe Premiere Pro on your phone. Again, this is for a solo podcaster who's trying to keep things absolutely simple. You could do transitions in here. You could do zoom ins. You could do GIFs. You could do GIFs or GIFs. I don't know where you land on that, but let me know in the comments, right? So GIFs or GIFs or whatever, you can do all that stuff, and then you export it. You have your video, you have your audio, and then you would publish it to your appropriate host. The video would go on YouTube. We're not getting into thumbnails and any of that stuff right now, but it's ready to go. And then the actual audio is going to go to your podcast host in MP3 form. So there you have it, okay? In this video, things we did not do. We did not go through an editing workflow or how to edit. We did not go into how to record to your computer using Riverside or anything like that, okay? We purposely kept it simple. What we did was make sure you know a few things that are gonna help you succeed. One of them is having that central idea, which is gonna be your North Star. That applies to your episode as well, okay? Then we talked about scripting. We talked about how to set up your camera or your iPhone. We talked about sound, we talked about lighting, and then we just did recording, and then we went into publishing. Just basically getting it from idea to ready to publish. I hope sincerely that this was useful. This obviously gives John and I a lot of different areas where we could make like stellar videos about some of the other things within this video, but I just wanted you to know like this can be extremely simple, okay? I do not want the things that intimidate other people to intimidate you. So if this was helpful, definitely leave a comment, leave me any questions that we can answer for you. My goal is for you to get that idea out into the ether and just not start thinking about all the obstacles that are in the way. It's easier than you think. I think we took very little time to prep here. That's not my recommendation to you. I just had this idea of a video that just needed to be out there on the simplification of podcasting in 2026, and here it is.